Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wakar Kadash, and the Heavenly Father. True name is Yahweh, and His unbegotten Son, Bahashem. In the name of Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. Those are the true names in ancient Paleo Hebrew. The Lashkwadash Holy Tongue, and I say, Barakabam to the elders and apostles, Wa'akim, Wa'akwafan, and say, Shalom. And this is a prophecy update as of May the 12th, 2026 on this Tuesday afternoon. And this is from the JerusalemPost.com. As we've been seeing, rise in tensions continue to increase, despite the fact they're gonna have some talks this week coming up between Lebanon and Israel. Have another round of talks at Washington D.C. or potential trying to have some talks, ceasefire talks. But ever since then, tensions been heating up between the borders of Israel and Lebanon, between the Hezbollah, the pro-Iranian groups going against the Israel Defense Force. A cross-border conflict been heating up ever since then. And this is from the Jerusalem Post, as I mentioned again. And it says a Hezbollah leader vows to never surrender, calls for a Lebanon to withdraw, which they said this previously. It says Lebanon to withdraw from negotiations, which they're not going to do. It says Qassam asserted the group commitment to remain, saying Lebanon will not return to the state of affairs that exists before March the 2nd. It says this was published May the 12th, 2026, and last updated May the 12th, 2026. It reads, it says Hezbollah leader Naim Qassam, if I pronounce his name right. It says announced that the group will not surrender and call for an end to the direct negotiation between Israel and Lebanon. In a written message to Hezbollah group on Tuesday, it says Qassam asserted that the group commitment to remain on the battlefield, saying Lebanon will not return to the state of affairs that exists before March the 2nd. It says claiming that Israel and the United States is seeking to exile the Lebanon as part of a greater Israel. Qassam added that no matter how great the sacrifices, there are less at the cost of surrender. It says Qassam calls for end negotiations. Qassam also claimed that the current direct negotiation that leads to ceasefire beginning on April the 16th, which are scheduled to continue this week, it says it only benefits Israel involving free consensus from the Lebanese government. He called for indirect negotiations, but the power is in the hands of the Lebanese negotiator instead. It says expressing gratitude to Iran. Qassam stated that the Israel-Iran agreement will include a ceasefire in Lebanon, which cars Hezbollah had, stopping Israel aggression. Qassam has responsibility for negotiating Lebanon's sovereign aims. It says Hezbollah was willing to cooperate to reach their five goals: stopping Israeli attacks, removing all IDF presence in Lebanon, which that's not going to happen because they still want to have a full Lebanon to fully control of that southern Lebanon and full military forces in that area still. It says Lebanese the deployment of the Lebanese army and the southern Latania River area, freeing prisoners, returning all displaced people to their homes, and reconstruction. Lebanon asks U.S. to pressure Israel to halt attacks and operations, which that's not going to happen, which they previously did. They kind of listened to it, but they continue with all of the operation and continue using airstrikes against Hezbollah. The Lebanese president has argued that the United States to put pressure on Israel to cease military operation in South Lebanon. It says the presidency said on Monday as the toll from Israel attacks rose. It says AOUN in a meeting. It says, I think that's the president of Lebanon. That's his name, right? President Joseph Aoun in a meeting, the U.S. Ambassador to Lebanon, Michael Elsia Aska, expressed that necessary of pressure on Israel to halt fire and military operation. As I mentioned again, that's not going to happen. They might halt it, but they're not going to fully halt those military operations that they got over there in the area. It says, and the destruction in the bulldozer of homes, the presidency said. Allen and Escott also reviewed developments related to the third round of talks due in Washington between Lebanon, Lebanese and Israeli government representatives, and the presidency said. It says Reuters contributed to this report. So these tensions between Lebanon, Hezbollah versus the Israel Defense Force is going to heat back up. So this is what you call Matthews 24 verse 7. Slovakia. Start at verse 7. And this is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, and verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and earthquakes in diverse places. Right, and that's what we're seeing, nation against nation, Hezbollah of Lebanon versus the Israel Defense Force. That's what we call modern day nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom. It says to understand Matthew's 24th chapter, the KJV Bible, consider these key points. Yahweh Shai, that's his true name, the only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai. It says speak about signs and of the end times, coming tribulations. It says nations will rise against nations, indicating a global conflict. Right, and that's what we're seeing among the nations. Because you got these economical wars, you got these trade wars, nuclear wars, sanction wars, oil wars, and these nuclear tensions heating up between these nations that we're seeing on a daily basis, especially what's going on over there in the Persian Gulf area, the Persian region, Western Asia. We're seeing tensions are heating back up once again, potentially between the United States armies versus Hamas. And that's going to cause global. That's going to cause global. Hello, Moto. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hi, this is Emily Wilson, and you asked me to call you back. Do you remember?
No.
Okay, I'm with U.S. Funeral Expenses, and based on our records, it shows that you may qualify for a state-regulated final expense insurance plan. That's going to cover 100% of your funeral, burial, and cremation expense. Are you between the ages of 50 and 80 years old?
No.
Are you between 50?
No. Slovakia, phone call. Yep, Matthews, Catino. It says kingdoms. Yep, it says kingdoms will rise against kingdoms, suggesting a political upheaval. Right, that's what we're seeing. So we have these political wars, economical wars, nuclear wars, trade wars, and definitely is in that category, which goes into ethnos, nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom. It says there be famines and scorching. Right, we're gonna be seeing that as well too. It says pestilence will occur. What this Hantai, this Hantai V word? No, because even though we're not ignorant about Satan devices, it says pestilence will occur, right? Because Yahweh Shai is going to show us these pestilence and plagues as well too. It says pestilence will occur, referring to disease affecting population, right? With this HANTA V word. It says earthquakes in diverse places for significantly national disasters. Right, Psalms 18 and verse 7, second Amos 9 and verse 2. So we definitely increasing, in the Matthews, the 24th chapter, verse 7. That's what we're seeing. It says, as it says again, from the Jerusalem Post, May the 12th, 2026, it reads, it says, once again, Hezbollah leader vows to never surrender. It calls for Lebanon to withdraw from negotiations. Which they not going to withdraw from negotiations? Because he said that previously, and then they never withdraw from the negotiations. So with these negotiations coming up this week between Lebanon and Israel, what you're going to have the leaders of Hezbollah, they're not going to give up their armory. No, they're not going to surrender. They're still going to be a battle in the battlefield against the Israel Defense Force. Cross-border conflict heating up with the borders of Israel and the borders of Lebanon. So this is what we see in our world today with these wars, rumors of wars. Check out the time of Israel. It says Saudi Arabia carried out multiple retaliation strikes during the war, right, the Arab nations, right, was the Gulf, that Gulf region with the Arab nations. It's the United States. They are allies with the United States. So that's like basically that's old news. Check out for some more newer news. Let's see. As I mentioned, I think I mentioned that earlier today when I was out there teaching today. You had, I think Hezbollah, uh, the Houthi rebels. I meant to say the Houthi rebels. I think they started their campaign of airstrikes and drone strikes once again. Started as of today. Uh, I think the Israel Defense Force said they came under drone strikes from Houthi rebels as of today. But they had intercepted. So best believe now these tensions might heat back up once again between Iran and the United States and Iran versus Israel. So best believe the pro-Iranian groups is going to hop back on board to do their campaign airstrikes against the Israel Defense Force and against the United States armies and Great Britain, their allies. So best believe tensions might heat back up once again over there throughout Western Asia. So check out. And then you had one news article I had seen from WION when I was scrolling my YouTube feed. I think it was like earlier today when I had woke up because you had India. I think you had India and I think it was India, Cambodia. I believe they did a military exercise drills. So while we seeing the full effects of Matthew's 24th chapter, verse 6 to verse 7. So you're gonna have these military exercise drills, more military spending, more military training. And that's the spirit too, because I seen another news article from WION. I think they were saying that Iran had fired off some more missiles. They was practicing more of their missiles because they still got more nuclear capability, despite the fact, a lot of their nuclear capability been hit hard by the war campaign the United States did to them a couple months ago. But they still got nuclear capability still though. So we're definitely going to be seeing that Matthew's 24th chapter continue to increase. And this is news. It said Putin says Russia will test launch most powerful missile in the world. Right, that goes into that Ezekiel 38th chapter. So Russia, they still going to be in that war like mine. Turkey, what was that like last week? They revealed one of their first ICBM missiles. So that goes into that Ezekiel 38th chapter. So despite the fact they got this little 3-day ceasefire between Russia and best believe Russia is still gonna be in that war like mindset. And this is the book of Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 4. It says, I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. And I will bring thee forth with all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company of bucks and shields, all of them handling swords. Right, so Russia, they still gonna be in that war like mindset because they represent the bear in Ezekiel the 38th chapter. As the prophet Ezekiel was mentioned, And this is Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 4. What was that, a couple of days ago? You had, I think, Russia. They had sent some drones, some more drones, and more intel and more nuclear capability to Russia once again. I mean, to Iran once again, I'm going to say. So all this is aligned in Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. This is Hello, Moto. Hello. Hello. It says Ezekiel chapter 38 and verse 5. It says Persia, which is Ethiopia. I mean, Persia, which is Elam, let's say Slovakia. Ethiopia, which is the Cushites, Libya, put all of them with shield of helmet. This is Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 6, which I mentioned last week. You had Turkey announced their first ICBM missile, most likely sending that warning to Israel, because you still been having ongoing back and forth on and off tensions still been heating up between Israel and Turkey. Keep that in mind as well too. As you had the president of Aragon was potentially might send some reinforcements or some troops to send threats to Israel. So that shows that it's still some tension between Israel and Turkey, which previous was. Now it's going to previously heat up back in once again. Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 6, it says Gomer, which is modern day Turkey, and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters, all his bands, many people with thee. And this is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38, and verse 7. It says, Be thou prepared for thyself and all thy companies that are assembled unto thee. And so Russia is going to be a guard to these nations, Iran, Ethiopia, Libya, and Turkey. As it says again from, it seemed like that news call. That's the all the news article had updated once again. All right, check out some more news articles. It says this is from the Miami Herald. Russian forces strike residential building in Ukraine's two dead, two unalive, governor has said. Seems like that 3 day ceasefire is already up. So tensions heating back up once again between Russia and Ukraine. Right, because the elders and apostles spoke about that. He said, hey, once these 3 day ceasefires up, let's believe tensions going to heat back up once again between Russia and Ukraine. Yeah, because you had Nero 47 thinking like he took credit for that little 3 day ceasefire. And they were just commemorating that World War II, of them falling against in ICE Germany, the Edomites. But ever since then, tensions been abounding, been heating up once again. So definitely, Ezekiel the 38th chapter is definitely in full effect. All right, check out some more news articles. It says this is from the Miami Herald. Let's see. It says this is from Miami Herald once again. It says Putin says Russia will deploy more Surmat nuclear missiles this year, right, which they previously announced a couple of years back. Now, once again, yeah, building up that nuclear capability. Looks like North Korea doing the same thing. Hey, Joel the third chapter is in full effect. Oh, he just woke up. It's the book of Ezekiel. Slocky for that momentary pause. Ezekiel chapter 30, verse 7. It says, Be thou prepared that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a garden to them. Right, so Russia definitely going to be a garden to these nations, Iran, Ethiopia, Libya, and Turkey. It says, it says Putin says Russia will deploy new Cermak new missile this year. Ezekiel 30th chapter, like I mentioned again, definitely going to be in full effect. It says Russia says it successfully tested a new Cermak new missile. Right, they recently tested a missile. I think India they tested their missile as well too, and then India and Cambodia they did a military exercise drills. So that shows that tensions are these nations are still in that warlike mindset. It says, from the Miami Herald reads, it says. It says our Taiwan president thanks U.S. for helping strengthening their defense, right? Because they're gonna continue to discuss nuclear capability. They're gonna continue to discuss um, nuclear sales, nuclear deals between China. I mean, between the United States and Taiwan. I meant to say. It says 10 unalive in a blast in northwest Pakistan market. Protesters erupt in India and a key college test is canceled. Yep, uproars in people of the world. That's Luke 21, verse 25, second edition, and verse 3. It says Philippines senator vows to fight international criminal court over killings. Yep, uproars people of the world. Let's see. And this is from the Associated Press. It says that leaving after anger for pharmaceutical CEOs, vaping lobbyists of anti-abortion groups. And what's that mark? The third chapter. If a kingdom that accept the kingdom not stand. And this is a news article 8 minutes ago. And what Elder Apostle Tahar said, he said, if you miss an hour, you miss a lot. And that is true. And this is, news article 8 minutes ago. Matter of fact, I'm going to go to this news article. It says 28 minutes ago, Trump proposed a Golden Dome estimated cost 1.2 trillion more than he initially said. Because I believe he first initially said it was worth about a couple of billions. Now he's talking about $1.2 trillion. That potentially might be taxpayers or workers as well too. That's crazy. That's insane. $1.2 trillion potentially for a Golden Dome. That's crazy. Um, Another news article 8 minutes ago. It says Ukraine drone. It says Ukraine drone pilots turn into a military exercise in Sweden into a critical warning for NATO. Well, because you've been seeing divisions between NATO as well too. Revelation 17 verse 16, the beast shall hate the whore. And then, you've been having on, I was seeing the rising tensions have been heating up between NATO and Russia as well too. So keep that in mind as well too. Uh, it says Spain reports new cases, passenger cruise ship as a total grows to 11. Now, scriptures do say we're not ignorant of our safe devices. And on top of that, the scriptures do say that the Heavenly Father is going to send plagues upon the world. It's that second Ezra 15, verse 5. And second Ezra, the ninth chapter, that he's going to visit this earth, which he made. And that's what we're seeing. That's, all right, check out some more news articles. Yeah, that's insane. $1.2 trillion for just for a Golden Dome. Never 47 is crazy. That's a lot of money. That's, this is the book of Luke 21. This is the book of Luke 21 and verse 25. This is Luke 21, verse 25. It says, there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars, and upon the earth transgressive nations will perplex verse 1. Right, so that's what we're going to still continue to see. Transgressive nations will perplex verse 1. And get to RT.com. See if there's any news. Yeah, it says we test a firing of the state of the art ICBM missile. Yeah, that's that Ezekiel the 38th chapter. Yeah, Ezekiel 38th chapter is in full effect. It says Israel step ups brutal bombardment in southern Lebanon. Right. So, despite the fact these talks between Lebanon and Israel is coming up this in these next couple of days, and then you have one of the leaders of Hezbollah. One of the leaders of Hezbollah was telling Lebanon to withdraw from the talks between Israel and Lebanon, because he's saying that why would you trust them? They keep on bombing innocent men, women, children in the area. Because it was the latest, I think it was like twice.
I think you should part just a down. I need a solution. I mean, it's like eggs in it. What's wrong with you? You ate this time, damn it, you smell like eggs.
Yeah, it says, this is from RT.com. It says, Israel step up brutal bombardment in southern Lebanon. It says nearly, back to what I was saying was, and because you had one of the leaders of Hezbollah was saying that why would you want to continue to have talks with them, but they still killing innocent men and children. So this was like the consecutive third time that like a couple of women were, innocent women was killed in airstrikes from the Israel Defense Force. And that's what you call modern day unrighteous decrees, like it says in the book of Isaiah 10, verse 1 to verse 2. It says, continue on with the reading. This is May the 12th, 2026 from RT.com, and it reads, it says, nearly 90 people have been unalive since Friday, despite a U.S. brokered ceasefire. According to the Lebanese officials, Israel has intensified its brutal bombardment of southern Lebanon, expanding evacuation orders to more villages. RT correspondent Steve Sweeney, if I pronounce his name right, has reported from Beirut the IDF airstrikes have unalive at least 87 in the neighboring country since Friday, according to the Lebanese health ministries. It says local authorities said 39 people were unalive on Saturday, along with 22 hit towns and villages in southern Lebanon on Monday, issued evacuation orders for several more villages, bringing the total to 84 since the U.S. broker took effect in mid-April. It says the fighting has continued despite the trust in both sides accusing each other of violation. It says Israel says its operation target alleged Hezbollah positions and infrastructure. It says that while Lebanese-based group says it will continue to resist Israel military actions, more than 2,800 people, including over 100 health workers, have. It says since March the 2nd, when Israel launched its latest military operation against Hezbollah, according to the Lebanese authorities. RT's Sweeney reports workers Ali Radia and Ali Rashali and Sharif in a southern Lebanese town. It says an Israeli IDF strike unalive 8 members and one same family spanning 3 generations, including a mother and her daughter and a 6-month-old baby girl, according to local authorities. It says Lebanese media also reported that a 12-year-old was unalive in a drone strike, was trying to flee after her father has been alive. Hey, that's what you call unrighteous decrees. It says a few further U.S. military talks between the Israelis and Lebanese officials are expected in Washington later this week. Yeah, this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 10, verse 1. Hey, so these are small hackers. These are IDF Edomites. Hey, they do a lot of unrighteous creeds throughout the generations and years. Hey, so that Lebanese leader dude was right. Why would you want to trust them? Yo, bombing innocent men and children. Now, of course, they asked for they had warned about evacuations, but they still continue to bomb innocent men, women, and children. It's Isaiah 10 verse 1. It says, woe unto them that, yeah, it says, woe unto them, right? Woe unto the small hats, woe unto the IDF Edomites. It says, woe unto them that decree unrighteous creeds, right? That's unrighteous creeds. And that right grievous which they prescribe that as well too. Hey, so that's Esau for you. And this is the book of Second Ezra, chapter 9 and verse 3. Then I'm closing out. That's the book of Second Ezra, chapter 9 and verse 3. The prophet Ezra meant, the prophet Ezra, Ezra 9 and verse 3. It reads from the apocryphal books of the Holy Scriptures. It says, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes, upwards people will. Right, so that's what we're seeing, increasing earthquakes and the upwards people will. So with that, this was just a prophecy updates as of May the 12th, 2026, on this Tuesday afternoon. So hopefully this was edifying. With that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rukar Kadash. Any Heavenly Father, true name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Bahashem, in the name of Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. Those are the true names in ancient Paleo Hebrew, the last Kadash tongue. And I say Barakatham to the elders and apostles, Wa'akim, Wa'akwaf. Until next time, I would say Kum Yasharala, in the Bible Ball, Shalom.